Welcome to the Authentic Leaders Rising podcast, where high achieving entrepreneurs and leaders come to receive deep, insightful conversations and practical guidance to move from hustle to flow without sacrificing their authentic self and the results. I am your host and Chief Energy Officer, Tammy Cho, a former patient care leader turned international best-selling author, speaker, and face and body analysis expert. Get ready to lead your authenticity, lead your energy, and lead your impact. Hi, all. Thank you for tuning in today. Guess what? Today is the very last episode of 2024, and it's landing right on Christmas. And so thank you for spending your energy and your time here with me, whether it's today or on the replay, watching in, tuning in, whatever that is, right? Thank you for being part of my journey and to really dive into going into the review of the year. Because in addition to connecting with family, maybe it's a quiet time at home, maybe it's contemplating for the year, right? Oftentimes it's a time that we kind of slow down to be with ourselves, whatever that looks like. And what I find is, as a triple split in human design, I often actually need the energy to be in the energy of someone else, to really tune in to the energy of someone else, to go through the review with me. That's my awareness, right? I also, because I'm a manifesting generator, I need to respond to things. And I find listening in to podcasts, YouTube videos, someone else's inspiration really supports me because it allows me to respond. And even though you may or may not know what your human design is, right? 70% of the population are generators. They're in the family of generators. And this human design type often needs to respond to things. And so I thought it'd be really powerful to just create an episode to support that in all of us and myself, and really dive into reviewing the year in a very aligned, strategic way to really learn from the past. Because sometimes what we do is that we're focused on, okay, well, that was a past. It didn't go very well, or it went well, and that's great. I'd rather spend money on the future, or I rather spend my time focusing on what I want to create moving forward. And so sometimes we lose out on all the gems. We lose up on all the energy that we could tap into. We lose out on the learnings that are hidden in all these places if we don't dive deep, right? And so I wanted to be that space holder for that in this episode, to really go through 2024, doing a bit of a review, and to have that space for gratitude and celebrations for lessons learned. And so I'm just going to invite you to this right now. Like, just take a deep breath into yourself. Letting out some sighs. Allowing yourself to come to the present. Definitely, if you're driving, be safe. But if you're not, right, and you have that capacity right now to really breathe into yourself, to bring yourself back to the present, and allow yourself to concentrate on just tuning into your heart, bringing not only your mind to the present, but also your heart. Because apparently, when we breathe into the heart, and when they actually measured how much light, it's something like 100,000 photons per second. And so allow yourself to tap into this power. And often some simple breathing into the heart really opens us up to seeing things in a different way. And so let's begin. So I really want to invite you to really look into these places, right, in 2024, to really look at celebrating yourself. First of all, not really looking at it like the things that you have achieved and accomplished on a tangible level, but also things that you've achieved on a non-tangible level. Now, for myself, how I went about that and what came up for me was really looking at my word of the year in 2024. And for me, it was really tapping into more visibility, to really building my brand, building my visibility, putting myself out there. And so, in looking at that and my intention, what has unfolded for me was that I've launched this podcast. This is something that was in the back burner for about a year and a half or so, and I didn't take action. And so, this was the year I launched Authentic Leaders Rising. And it was more than just starting a podcast for me. It was really launching the new framework leadership of authentic energy leadership. And it's a place where it was more like a movement for me. And it was more helping people see that they can experience more joy, fulfillment, freedom, and growth within self without having to constantly be doing more and to find that balance. And so this is what it meant for me to launch my podcast. The other thing was the fact that I'm up to 27 episodes. As I had mentioned, I don't know if you know, but a lot of times when someone starts a podcast, like 70%, like over 70% of people never make it past episode 10. And 80% or so don't make it past episode 20. And so right now, I'm just really celebrating with all of you, right? Like I hit 27 episodes now. And so I'm past that. So I'm in the 20%. My intention is to keep on going and sharing valuable content with all of you. And so I'm celebrating that. It was aligned with my intention. I shared about this intention of mine with visibility, right? But the shadow of that for myself was that I really struggled with self expression last year. It was something that felt like more of a block in me. I really wanted to overcome that. Last year, I was able to speak on other podcasts and things like that, but being able to just be here in front of a camera and just do a live by myself, I mean, I was able to do it, but it felt like there was some energy there. And so there's the tangible intention, and then there's the intangible intention. So for me to speak into the space on my podcast, to stand for this new leadership framework I was launching and putting out there, to speak and just start a podcast and to take on the commitment of actually launching a podcast and all the behind the scene work it takes to actually put a podcast out there. So if you run a YouTube channel or a podcast, you know all about that. And so really give yourself a pat on the back if you're in this space with me. And so these are kind of the things, right? Really looking at what you tangibly did, but also what intangibly was behind it. What is the win? What is the celebration around that? Because oftentimes, like, it's kind of funny because a lot of us, we know that we're motivated to buy and invest based on our emotions, and then we justify it with our mind. But what if we stood in our self leadership and chose to look at what the intangible gifts, the intangible motivations of our emotions that drove us to our achievements, and to look at how we navigated those pieces, how we stood in leadership, where we're not letting the mind justify and lead and to speak for our heart and our soul, and to allow ourselves to celebrate these non tangible pieces as well. And so to overcome self expression for me, right? Like I could have touched upon my goal as, oh, yeah, I'm going to achieve this and get on this many summits or podcasts and things like that. But for me, it was really honoring myself in allowing myself to be more of who I am. Because this is the work I'm putting out to the world. And so, of course, I'm always going to be on that journey. And to show up in more of my emotional sensitivity, that's a win for me. To really be authentically me and show up, not just to show up, but to show up for my soul. What does my soul have to say? And to put my message out into the world, that matters to me. And so, what matters to you? What are your values that drive your decisions? What are the values that drove your goals last year? I really invite you to look at these pieces to see where within yourself, where you're measuring your celebrations with the tangible versus the intangible. Some of the other pieces I will celebrate with you as well as in addition to obviously launching my podcast, it's also being on other podcasts. I'm at about 15 podcasts for the year that I showed up on. And I've attracted agency to support me in booking 4 to 8 podcast appearances for me every month. And so I'm taking the learnings of my wins, seeing what worked, what I want to do more of, what I actually feel excited to do. And I decided to invest in that. And that company, basically, it was through referral and it was beautiful and always nice to invest in something that is actually part of a package of making a bigger impact. And so that's really cool and exciting. I look forward to 2025. Another thing I'm celebrating is being invited to speak on an international conference based out of India on the topic of authentic leadership. So again, this came very naturally and flow to me this year. And that's my first time speaking on an international stage, as I would call it. As well, in the new year, 2025, I'm being invited to speak on stage in person for the first time. And so I'm flying down to be a speaker. And it's just beautiful how once we put our energy into things, how flow happens. And so, what was that flow for you, right? What was your intention? Did it go according to your intention? What did you learn from all these things? And so, what really worked for you, right? What worked? What didn't? And I know I speak about this piece in a bit of a dichotomy, what works, what didn't. What I want to invite you to is that oftentimes everything is actually working for us. It's not happening to us, it's happening for us. And so I invite you to look into these places within yourself where what do you feel didn't work? And to explore looking at the gems underneath that. Now, let me give you an example because something that happened recently is that my husband got sick for a good over a month. And this is the longest time he's been sick. And so, of course, that put a little bit more weight on me in the sense of household responsibilities and taking care of the kids and driving the kids and things like that, which is totally fine because that's part of having a relationship and being in a marriage and to support one another. And while I could see that as a negative thing, what transpired from it was actually a beautiful unfolding and softening in my husband, where because he couldn't actually do his regular activities and he had to surrender. He had to surrender to a lot. He had laryngitis and bronchitis, and that really, if he couldn't speak, he couldn't really do a lot. He was quite sick, actually. And it really peeled off layers off of him and in a beautiful way. And you can't, in the midst of it, you can't see that. But looking back and who this sickness transformed my husband to be, right? It really softened his heart. And one of my big desires for our relationship was to really deepen our emotional connection and our intimacy with each other. And it wasn't like anything was wrong or bad or anything, but I just wanted more. When we deepen the space of ourselves and deepen our self love and our worthiness of more, we naturally want more. This is the universe speaking through us. This is our heart and our desires speaking through us. This is how God speaks through us, however you want to language that. But there's a piece of us that opens up to wanting more. And when we're connected to our desires in this way, this is what is opened up. And we've been able to have a new softness and connection and intimacy and understanding between us that is really quite beautiful. And I think it's really easy to miss these things that it doesn't seem like it's working or that it seems like something that didn't work. Oh, it's another sickness. Oh my goodness, it took me out of this. But I really invite you as you do your inner contemplation for the past year. Be grateful for all the celebratory things that you've achieved and let in tangible and the intangible pieces, right? But to also allow yourself to look at what didn't work, so to speak, and to let yourself really be curious. Get into the energy of openness and curiosity, like get back into your heart. Hmm. Breathe. Allow yourself to be curious like a child and explore. If that didn't happen, this wouldn't have happened. Like, wow, I could really see that. That actually gave me space to do this instead. And it was actually what I needed. I actually worked with a client and she was on a bit of a verge of burnout. She was doing all the self care stuff. She was going to yoga, going for a run, doing strength training, really trying to support herself in so many ways. But she was struggling with having all this recognition and people loving her and respecting her and all these things, but she wasn't actually letting it in. And of course, we did the deeper work together to really uncover these blocks and to release them. And everything started opening up. She released 10 pounds of energetic weight with ease. The pain in her body subsided. She made her first 10K month and she was like super excited, and everything was flowing, speaking opportunities, podcasts, clients. And she said to me, oh, I've been applying to these bigger conferences and stages because she's at the top 5% of her industry, right? And so she doesn't understand why she was applying to speak at these stages, on these stages. And yet there was always a reason why it didn't work out, or they didn't need another speaker, or whatever that reason that was. And she was taking emotional hit around that, right? She said, I don't understand why. And as we took breaths together and allowed our intuition to come in, and I highlighted for her, you're meant to run those events. It dropped in clear and strong. And the first thing she said, she's like, oh, I know a lot of people and I do have a lot of resources. Once she realized that and allowed it to come into her, and she received it deeper in herself, right? Again, it's not like she didn't know all these things in the sense of like she had all these resources, but she wasn't receiving it. She didn't see that possibility within herself, that what was not working was opening up for her to start her own stage. And she's perfectly aligned for it because right that week after our session, she reported at our next session, right over the weekend. She put together the event with so much ease. Everything fell together. The speakers all fell together. And it was so easy and it was in flow. And she had all the connections. So beautiful. And she was so happy and ecstatic for what she's been able to create. And she's creating another one now. And she's having it on her birthday. And she's had all the speakers, sponsors signed up like that. She just had so many connections. Like all her community was fully supporting her because they all already saw her for who she was. They saw her for who she was and all her gifts, her splendor, her glory, the beauty of the person she is. I just love her. It was a space of her allowing herself to receive ourselves. That's why I invite a lot of people to look a little deeper because there's so many gems. And often what we're looking for is actually right in front of us. It's if we're in the consciousness and we know how to receive it and let it in. And so I invite you to go a little deeper with your contemplation, your reflection, to explore, especially the things that actually didn't seem to work. Look deeper into those places with curiosity, with the glasses of curiosity, not with the glasses of judgment, right? Because that will make the world of difference. So I really invite you to look at that. And so the next step is like really looking at the lessons you learned. Notice in the process of your contemplation, where are you getting heavy in your body? Where are you getting judgmental? Where is the voices coming in during the celebrations? Because this is a place within ourselves that these are the patterns. These are the lessons. Because as you contemplate the year, these are the patterns of self sabotage that is coming up for you. As you go and navigate the time to spend time on this, to deepen into this within you, where are you making the time and feeling distracted? Or where are you making the time and when you need to go deep, it seems like, oh, okay, well, this is just another layer deep. I did it for one of them, but not for the ones you actually need to. However, that plays out, really be curious. As you're going through the questions of celebrating what worked, what didn't, excitement of the intangible and the tangible, look at these places within yourself. Because as we do this, it's so much gems in a year review that if you allow the presence to let it in and the space to really feel into it, everything will unravel and you know exactly what are the lessons in the way in the sense of our inner beingness. And really reflect, did I have all the resources I need? Because one of the things that came up for me is that I realized that the team I was working with was not working. It was a place where it was interesting because I had shared with you my thing. The word of the year was visibility. And the other aspect of it was that place in myself of needing to self express. And of course, I hired a team member to support me who had challenges with this. And so this was really pushing me to grow within myself and to really decipher like how much of this is my stuff versus her stuff. And it allowed me to make a conscious decision on whether this was something I needed to work through within myself or this is something that the team wasn't correct for me. And through this conscious decision making, I realized that it wasn't the right fit for me. And I needed to release the team member and actually bring on a new team that could support me in a way that that challenge wasn't there. And the beauty of that, the celebration in that is that knowing that when I have worked through subconscious blocks of self expression, it was definitely showing up in my throat and in the back of my neck here. And I will share that like often, like I could feel like in my upper back now, my body naturally wants to reposition myself so that I'm not blocking my expression anymore. And this is the beauty of doing the body work, the embodiment, the somatic practices, the face and body analysis I talk about has a lot to doing with where are these patterns showing up on your body, because we can be expressing and moving forward towards our goals, and yet a part of our embodiment is actually stopping us from doing that. It feels so invisible. A lot of people are not bringing the body into their leadership of their goals and their impact and their purpose. And so if that's something you want to dive into, definitely let's have a conversation to dive deeper into that. If you feel like you're going through this life review, this yearly review, and you feel like all these things are coming up in your body, and as you're breathing into your heart, you feel like it opens and then it closes. It opens and then it closes. Or there's aspects that are showing up. There's a part that feels open, but yet you're feeling this denseness in another area. Like to me, this is true leadership, really looking at these places to review not only from a place of external, but the non tangibles and what's actually going on within our embodiment. Because these are the lessons that often no one talks about. They're not talking about what is our emotional openness expression, what is our emotional abundance that we feel in our body towards our goals. Because often it's the exact thing that we're actually pushing away. It's the exact thing that's keeping us from stepping into our goals. And so this is so crucial. So I just wanted to speak to that. And as we move through all of this, allowing ourselves to just let go of all those things, it's important to review all these places, all the things that have happened, how you were being in it, and recognizing what's coming up in your body, what was coming up in your mind chatter, all these pieces. Do you have a process to let them go? And make sure to add that in your resource bank. To put that, like sometimes we think about team members supporting us, but it's also the tools. And there's the tools to get us past the hump. And then there's the deeper tools that often, when we invest with a coach or a mentor to support at the deeper levels, it often removes a lot of the little things that get in the way, that we're spending actually more energy. We're investing more energy to try to like move through things, or we stuff it. And that's where it manifests in our body, in our results, stopping us from fully being impactful on our purpose. It's preventing us from loving ourselves and to really holding the gratitude to just celebrate ourselves. And so ask yourselves, do you have something to let go of? Do you have something to support you in letting go of what is it that you don't want? And as we breathe into closing the episode now, from all of this, what parts of yourself do you want to bring into 2025? And I'm not in a place of actually coming up with my word of the year. I feel like there's more pieces to contemplate within myself. But I will share something that is very vulnerable for me. It's a place that has dropped into me as another place of celebration within myself. And it's a goal that didn't come from my mind, or I don't know, not even my heart. It felt like it came from my soul. It's something my soul really wanted and desires to bring into my life. I actually had at least three psychics tell me that I'm meant to really be this leader for humanity in a big way. They saw me big stages. I had visions of that in the past. I've had people tell me that I'm meant to really impact humanity in a big way. Let's just say that. And I heard that again and again. And I guess I just made up, like, oh, yeah, I'll get there eventually. But I never actually let it in to myself. It's like I understood it, I saw it in my own vision, but I always saw it as the future. And I wasn't actually letting my soul have it. Like I wasn't letting myself desire it and actually write it as a goal. And the mind stuff that came up for me was like, who am I to do that? Right. And the stuff that came up in my mind is like, you're so high in yourself to think that you could do that. And in letting that all go, like it really opened up. This is what I desire and want. And to give voice to that and to accept that and receive my own desires. This is the other thing. As you are reflecting on your year, right, and diving deeper into yourself about what you want to bring into the next year, make sure you open up your heart to allow yourself to really desire, not from what you should do and what makes sense to do. Sure, you could give those parts of you space to write down. But until like it actually drops into your heart and you allow your soul to speak, you're actually like not letting in what you actually want. Because when we live into our purpose, it comes from our soul. It comes from our higher heart. It doesn't come from all the regular emotions that move through us on a regular basis. It comes through our heart and our soul, our higher heart. And it's the key of manifestation. And this has been coming up for me that I'm going to be creating some sort of live experience to really walk someone through desiring deeply. Because the amount of energy and alignment and power I feel from just admitting that to myself, letting myself have the thing that seems so outrageous, it feels so amazing. There's so much alignment there. And if you've been striving for your goals and achievements, where you want to be, income, influence, impact, whatever that is for you, and it seems like you're moving 2 steps forward, 4 steps back, you seem to be getting things done, but you're not really feeling happy, you're feeling disconnected to it all, you likely have a higher calling. You have something deeper that's calling you in. And it's about turning towards that, because it's the basic foundation of manifestation to pull that into your life. If you don't allow yourself to have this deep desire, it's like your soul, it's like pushing it away. You know what I mean? And so I hope that this podcast has really invited your heart and soul, the intangible, to partner and have harmony with the tangible pieces that you are reflecting, contemplating, moving forward with, because this is alignment. To be aligned with your purpose involves your heart and soul. And for some of us, we might need to reignite that passion if we're going about our impact not really feeling it, and not feeling it to the degree that we feel like we should be, with all the external accomplishments that we have achieved, all the success. But there's still a part of us that feels missing. I just want to speak to that because that is something that a lot of us can ignore when we keep ourselves too busy. And maybe your heart will be able to hear it. Maybe your heart and your soul will be received more deeply. Maybe you're able to create that space and presence more deeply. Because I could tell you that it will change your results like crazy when you actually allow yourself to feel it and feel excited about it. Much love to you. I love to support you. If there's a place that you feel, something that came up today that I talked about that you want to dive deeper into, I have calls that I would just support you with where you're at, and so that we could connect and to open up any places that need to be opened up. Lots of love to you. You can connect with me down in the show notes. I'm sending you lots of love and presence and space in your contemplation over 2024. And I look forward to speaking with all of you in 2025. Much love. I'll talk to you later. Happy holidays. Thank you so much for listening to the Authentic Leaders Rising podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode, and leave us a review so others can find the life-changing content that we're sharing here. We are starting our movement on our way to number 1, and we need your help to get there. If you'd like to connect with other high-achieving entrepreneurs and leaders who are also on their authentic, energetic leadership journey, join our free Facebook community, Energetically Aligned Leaders. Go to pathtotheheart.com/links to join the Facebook group, book your personalized face analysis experience, or to access our resources.